Hey, how's it going? It's been another month. Wow. I've actually left this till literally the end of the month because I forgot that I was meant to do one of these videos. So it's currently the 26th that I'm filming this. Wow. Time flies. This month went so quick. I don't understand that. How February felt like it took 3 years, but then March took 2 minutes. It's crazy. Anyway, holy daiquiri-doo, what are we looking at? Every single movie I watched this month. A bunch of them I'm not going to talk too much about because I'm doing a video on a particular director, so I'm going to wait until I've actually done that video. That's where I'm going to dive deeply into those, and it makes this video go a bit quicker. So let's jump into it. We started with The Last Showgirl on the 1st. Gave it 3.5 stars. I actually quite enjoyed it. Really interesting performances. I wasn't huge on the ending. It's very controversial ending, but I kind of realized it while I was discussing it with my partner because we both saw it. She really was eager to see it. I was expecting it to be a more dancey, showgirly film, which I think most people expected. It isn't. It's like a reflection on the idea of what a showgirl actually is. And even The Last Dance is very... That's it. That's all it is. But even in my mind, I kind of realized, and this is again what I was saying with Helene, that like it's very obvious that the last dance is a dream sequence. The whole sequence there, even leading up to it, is just like everything goes too perfectly. Characters apologize to each other and stuff like that and whatever. But then suddenly people will just vanish, and then they'll reappear later on in a certain area, and it just seems way too happy. So it definitely feels like it was meant to be a commentary on a dream sequence and just a film about being delusional. So it's really interesting on that regards. Very interesting. I don't like a lot of some of the sequences. They have a lot of out of focus sequences, which I mean were definitely artistic design. Mostly just, what do you call it? Again, it's so focused on the one person's perspective until certain news breaks, and then suddenly the film kind of opens up visually to encapsulate more people and more surroundings. And so I think the visual language is really emphasizing how the main character is delusional and very self-induced into everything. The narrative supports that, the character actions support that, so it's very much a film about a delusional person, and I think it's very interesting for that in that regard, and Pamela Anderson is very good in it. So keep that in mind if you go to see it. It is not about showgirls dancing. It's about just the delusion of being an artist. It's really interesting. Anyway, then we have The Searchers on 4K. I watched the UHD disc actually with the commentary by Peter Bogdanovich because I'd never listened to it. I only just saw the film last year, so I wasn't planning to rewatch it. But I got the films from Hyundai, and I was like, you know what? I want to watch it. I got to look at this 4K, and I was, I think, in the middle of, I was prepping for the movie market, so I was like packing up all these movies and shit, and I just had it on. I was like, figured, look, I'll chuck on the commentary track because then I can just hear Peter Bogdanovich talking about the film, and holy shit, what a banger of a commentary! 5-star film in general, anyway. One of the greatest westerns ever made, if not the greatest western ever made. Not my favorite though. I'm more of a Once Upon a Time in the West kind of guy, but nevertheless, stunning 4K. Good stuff. And for funsies, I watched Pompeii from 2014. I gave it 4 stars. Actually, surprisingly interesting action romance film. It has a great gladiator sequence for like the whole 2/3 of the movie. First 2/3 is like gladiator stuff, and then just as it gets to the pinnacle of it, Vesuvius explodes, and it is stunning. Like Paul W.S. Anderson is a hell of a filmmaker in good ways and bad ways. Again, I'm going to make a video on him. And he really knows how to make a special effects sequence look really fucking good. So I'll give him that. I gave him the extra kick for that because I'm like, man, that fucking makes it slap. It's got a hell of a final shot. Definitely worth recommending if you like end of the world apocalyptic movies, but also just fucking films that actually have characters living day-to-day lives of like regular shitty politics and casual drama. It's really interesting. So pretty fun. Then on the 3rd, I watched Ghosts of Mars, the 4K from, again, Scream Factory. wasn't as big a fan. Last time I watched it, I gave it 3.5 stars and a like. This time I'm like, man, this film is a fucking chore to get through. I gave it 2.5 stars. I think I really liked it the first time a couple of years back because I was huge on Doom. And I'm like, this is like the best Doom movie that isn't a Doom movie. And I'm rewatching, I'm like, this movie looks really cheap. And oh my god, it's so boring. And Pam Grier is just there for 5 minutes and then she dies. So much stupid shit. Very boring. A lot of the tension you realize is broken immediately when you realize, oh, so everyone just dies except for the main character, and then there's one character who's Ice Cube's character, and you're like, he's gonna survive, but he's just not gonna be there in the end, and then he is in there at the end to save her, and they have to fight demons. I think Ghosts of Mars. It's stupid. I really should do a video talking about, like, the weaker John Carpenter films. Like, not a ranking of his whole filmography, because that'll be controversial on its own. What do I think's the best John Carpenter? I think if I dived into his weaker end, which is basically his tail end of his career, it could be interesting to look at. But I don't want to shit on Carpenter. I like Carpenter, but he has made some fucking woofed films, so we'll see. I still got to rewatch Village and Vampires. Waiting for the 4K Vampires to come in, though. On the 4th, I watched Smokey and the Bandit from 1977. Fucking banger of a year. Beautiful 4K. Really nice 4K. I was really happy with that. I'm actually kind of a little shit. Maybe I should have gotten the Viavision set with the trilogy, because I thought the sequels were pretty poorly received, but it's like, actually, apparently the sequel is pretty good. It has the same cast, it's the same idea, rinse and repeat kind of stuff. And if you just really enjoy the idea of the first film, you'll really enjoy the idea of the second film, because it's the same fucking thing. But then the third one is like the best friend, and not Sally Field and fucking, what's his name? Burt Reynolds. It's the 4K is right over there. So yeah, but to be fair, the transfer on the 4K looks phenomenal, so I'm really happy with having that. And if Viavision releases eventually a standard Blu-ray set rather than this limited edition lenticular fucking wankery shit, then I'll probably get the trilogy set just for that alone, just to get the second and third film. But I could just buy the DVD. But you know me, I'm not going to buy the DVD. I'm definitely not going to buy the DVD. Anyway, I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was fun. I definitely think I can enjoy it a lot more on rewatch, because it's just, if you just want a good Saturday afternoon kind of fun movie, it's a good one to go for. The 5th, I watched Jerry Maguire, subscriber Rodney, one of his favourite films. He was very happy when I got the Blu-ray of it, and I was like, alright, I didn't realise it was 2.5 hours fucking long, but okay. And I watched it, and I gave it, what's that, 4.5 stars? Turns out it's a really good drama. Fucking A. I know of the ending. I've known of the ending for years. I've seen it several times, just the ending. I've never really seen the whole film as a whole. But even building to the ending, it really works. You understand all the dramatic stakes. You understand the relationships. I didn't realize that they got married, and then I'm like, oh, what the fuck? They actually got married? That's a thing? I finally understood the line of, you had me at hello. Because it's not a reference to the start of the movie. It's a reference to the scene that it happens in. You've seen the movie probably, or you've heard the line. It's literally, he just opens the door, says hello to the room, and then says, where's my wife? And that was all that she needed, was just him coming back. Fucking cinema. Anyway, really fun. On the 6th, oh man, this is a film that wasn't fun. Monster Hunter. Rewatched that. I was just kind of like been wanting to watch it for a while, since 2020. Oh fuck. It's been 5 years since I've watched this, and I still don't like it. I think I enjoyed it a bit in cinema because big monsters, and I like big monsters, but rewatching it, I'm like, man, this film has no fucking plot. There's no story, there's nothing. Even watching the behind the scenes of and it looks fine on 4K, again, Anderson knows how to visually make films look pretty good, especially with big effects and big monsters and stuff. And yeah, it's just really funny listening to him and Miller talk about how Anderson loves the games. And it's like, oh, if you love the games, which is just walking around killing big monsters, you'll love the movie. And I'm like, man, he literally just adapted the games outright. Just, hey, look, you're walking around with a bunch of big swords. Let's kill some dragons and shit. And that's the fucking movie. Except we've also got the military and different worlds and stuff, because that's the best you could get for making it realistic. Just it's a big portal for no reason. Let's not think about it. It's excuses. Stupid movie, gave it 2 stars. Anyway. But then I watched Reign of Fire, because I had to watch at least one film that had cool looking monsters that actually fucking was good. And it was good. I gave it 3.5 stars. It is not a very well received movie, which is crazy. I think it works really well. It's got a good story, it's got interesting characters, some great performances. The effects are really good. Like, they're not phenomenal, but for the time, again, this is 2002, it's really fun. I think it's maybe let down by its concept, which is just, you expect it to be, oh, dragons in the modern day age, fighting modern day tech. And you're expecting giant warplanes fighting dragons, the kind of schlocky stuff. But it's like a low budget film, so it's like, what if it's just like a zombie apocalypse, but with dragons instead of zombies? And it's okay. Again, if you've seen any fucking 2000 zombie film, you've seen this movie, except it just has dragons, and they breathe fire instead of zombies, and people don't turn into dragons, they just die. So, yeah. It's still fun, though. I enjoyed it. On the 7th, I watched Mickey 17. Wasn't big on it. I gave it 2.5 stars. I thought it was kind of boring. Robert Pattinson's good. You know, I'm a fan of Bong's films. My mate Guy and I went and saw it, and we were discussing these films beforehand, which ones we like, which ones we don't like. And this one was just Snowpiercer meets Okja. And in, like, the boring way of both of those movies, I can't say it was great. I didn't like the obvious Trump allegory. I thought it was way too fucking on the nose, and also just really just annoying. You know, when you are annoyed of seeing Trump in general, you don't really want to see satire of him, because it's like, I just don't fucking care, man. Their assholes killed them already. Holy shit. Anyway, that doesn't speak to how I feel about real world things at all. No, not at all. Anyway, it had some good visual effects and a good cast, but I don't know. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. Also, it's really long. Jesus Christ, is it long. On the 8th, I watched Hardware, the new 4K UHD courtesy of Umbrella Entertainment, and fucking slaps. The first act is kind of slow and messy, and you're like, okay, where is this going? There's a lot of different characters, a lot of different things, there's a whole new world to explore. But then when it kind of gets locked down in the apartment where it's basically wanting to go to, and it starts moving, it fucking starts moving, and it goes fucking from like 0 to 100 real fast, and then like the whole second half is just fucking chaos. It's blood, it's gore, it's fucking crazy shit, it's terrifying at times, it's beautifully shot, it is just fucking great. It's a hell of a film. I would highly recommend it. It is a very obscure 1990s horror film. I think it's Richard Stanley. I knew of it because, Richard Stanley, because a colleague of my mother really loves it. It's actually his favourite film, and it wasn't until like 2 days later that he actually visited my mum's work, because he'd moved to a different different area, and he came by and whatever, and my mum told him, like, oh, my son watched the film and he really liked it. He saw it on this new 4K by Umbrella, and he was like, there's a new 4K, and he looked it up, and they have this $160 collector's set with t-shirts and shit, and he fucking ordered it on the spot. Which is like, great, that's wonderful. See, some people do order those gigantic fucking sets from Umbrella. I mean, people obviously do, but some people really want to. Anyway, on the 9th, I watched Doppelganger. I gave it 3 stars. It was not bad. It's kind of messy. It's a weird 90s noirish kind of thing. It's got a bunch of different genres thrown in. You get some horror, you get some romance, you get sexy Drew Barrymore, but she's also 18, but I guess it's legal. But was she 17 when she filmed it? I don't know. She's fucking naked in the shower. You see her tits. Anyway, if that's your go-ahead, if that's what your takeaway is, go for it. But you also have to deal with the fact that the characters are... It's the 90s, it's 1993, so they're very 90s. The main character is a writer, so he's obnoxious. But then there's just all this weird mystery stuff with Drew Barrymore and her potentially dead family, and oh my god, is she a doppelganger? Does she have a doppelganger? What does that mean? Is this the Twin Peaks doppelganger where there's like an identical clone that's like an evil self? Or is it like the mythology doppelganger, which it is, where it's like some kind of weird, almost different organism, and it becomes really fucking crazy in the last act where they reveal like it's almost slasher plot villain, and then the crazy shit happens after that, and it's like fucking mental. So I'll give it, it's got a kick of originality. It just fucking throws everything at the wall, and some of it sticks. It's pretty fun. I'd watch it again. It's very weird. But I got the Vivision Blu-ray, so that was fun. On the 10th, I did a double feature of Mysterious Skin, because I'd just done a double-header podcast. The second episode, to my knowledge, has not come out yet, with movie battles. And right after that, I ended it saying goodbye to everyone. I'm like, great, I'm going to go watch a movie about pedophilia. Yeah, it was, because it was like R18, it said sequences of like pedophilia and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Anyway, I watched it mostly because Michelle Trachtenberg was in it, and despite the fact that I did not watch a fucking movie to, honor Gene Hackman in any realistic perspective, I mostly wanted to watch this because I've heard it was really good. And a friend of mine happened to have a DVD copy, so I borrowed it from her. And it's fucked up out the gate. It's rough. It is not an easy film to watch, but then the characters are really good. The performances are exceptional. It's a really well-written, really well-directed film. Like, it's able to touch its subject matter without it being... It's not too gross or too fucked up, but it's also not too, offensive to a certain crowd. And by that I mostly mean, queer audiences, especially, because the main character is actually gay, but he is also assaulted constantly by his gym teacher, coach, as a child, but then it cuts to them in their teens and them kind of just dealing with the ramifications. And even the poster was on the DVD, it was two of them went for the same thing, one of them remembers, one of them doesn't. And that's kind of where the story goes into, and I really like that. Again, some great performances. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's a really well-made film. Again, it's not for the light of heart. If you can't deal with that kind of subject matter, I do not recommend it, because it is not easy to watch. This is the opposite of a Saturday night movie. So, yeah. Anyway, I did double feature that, however, with Goodbye Dragon Inn from 2003, because I just watched Dragon Inn a couple weeks ago, and my mate had the Blu-ray, and it is... initially I was going to give it, a low review and say it was slow and pointless and nothing fucking happens. But with a very artsy film like this, you end up realizing what it's actually about, and that it's mostly a metaphor. And now, I'm saying this in a really emphasizing way because, again, there was someone whose review I actually did give a like, and that was a person who reviewed it pretty poorly. They have 2 stars. Do I not follow them? No. Yeah, they gave it 2 stars but a like, but they even were just like, it just, doesn't... It's boring. It's a boring film. Yeah, it's very of the art house thing. It's meant to be a visual commentary on the dying art form that is movie theaters, especially in the country that it was made. I feel like a lot of that kind of is noteworthy to say. It's basically plays out during a screening of Dragon Inn at the last night that this whole place is open, which is really weird because it opens with a full crowd and you're watching Dragon Inn and they're watching Dragon Inn and the subtitles. I had subtitles on. My mate Guy was like, "Why the fuck did you have subtitles on? All of the dialogue in the movie is from Dragon Inn." And I'm like, yeah, but there is dialogue in the movie, and then there's really important parts where the very minimal amount of actual dialogue from the characters is still very vital. One of them references that the place is haunted by the ghosts of its past, patrons and stuff like that. And there's all these different elements that give it more of that kind of feel. And it's a really, really interestingly made film. Again, watching it's this Blu-ray. I've actually still borrowed it from my friend. The second run Blu-ray, which is a new 4K restoration, which comes with a whole newly filmed interview with the director, which is really good. And that breaks down what the film's actually about in terms of how he had premiered one of his films a year or two prior at that cinema, and then it wasn't really successful, and the person who ran the cinema asked him if he wanted to invest in the cinema because it was dying, and he initially turned it down, but then he's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to close this place down then. And then he's like, okay, well, look, I'll rent it out for a year and I might make a film there. And then the lease was going up within a month, and his producer mate was like, hey, you still got this lease, did you want to do anything here? So they filmed this over the course of I think 2 weeks or whatever. It was just on and off throughout the 2 weeks, and he said that a lot of it was difficult to shoot because it's in a cinema, and the lighting situations you have there is very particular. But I think it works really well. It's a very atmospheric film, very ethereal. It's strange, and again, if you can't really click with its slow, quiet, nothing really happens kind of vibe, then don't worry about it. Like, I'm not gonna grill you for, like, again, I liked the review that was 2 stars, but I gave it 4.5 stars. I think it's a beautiful film, and I completely understand what it's going for. I think it's funny as well. It is a very funny film at times, very, very unintentionally, but then very, very intentionally. You even see that in the interview of the director, he emphasizes how he was rewatching it for the 4K scan, and he felt the film was hilarious. So there are elements to it where it very much seems that way. It's a very interesting piece of almost queer cinema as well. There's a lot of weird parts to it, but I definitely recommend it. You don't need to have watched Dragon Inn to understand the movie. It doesn't spoil Dragon Inn, but at the same time, it's definitely worth watching Dragon Inn as well as, Goodbye Dragon Inn. But they are very polar opposite films in terms of tone and visuals and, like, action or anything. There's no action in Goodbye Dragon Inn, so yeah. But it's definitely worth watching. It's very, very interesting. Because in contrast, I watched Madame Butterfly, which is from 2009, which was done by the same director. I gave that 2 stars. That was like a 38-minute long fucking short film, which Dragon Inn was meant to be a short film until they just shot so much long footage that it became feature length. And Madame Butterfly was boring as fuck. That's again one where people praise it highly because it's a metaphor about loss and everything. I'm like, I'm fucking bored. Like, it's all in a single take for like 20 minutes, and then it cuts once to a different shot. Someone said it cuts 3 times. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It cuts once, and then she's suddenly in a bed, and it's an empty pillow, and it's got some hairs, and she ends up brushing them off. It's a kind of film you can describe in like 2 sentences. She's in a shopping center in a place that she's unfamiliar with, has no money to get out. Her boyfriend's meant to pick her up, and he maybe never appears because he never appears in the film, but then she's in bed and he's gone, and it's just his empty pillow. And it's just the absence of a person, and I'm like, okay, I get it, bye. That became, okay, if this director's all these films are similar to this and Goodbye Dragon Inn, then I'm not going to appreciate them that much, I don't think. So yeah, can't say I like Madame Butterfly. I gave it 2 stars. It was kind of boring. It was very boring. But again, I was in that same wavelength for Goodbye Dragon Inn, but it started to kind of click with me as it went along, and I know that on rewatch, you could definitely, knowing what it is, appreciate it more. So it's a tough one sometimes because art house films are just like that. But on the 11th, I also wanted to watch a different film, so I watched The Jetsons, the movie. It's just Jetsons, the movie. I watched the Kino Lorber Blu-ray. I gave it 2.5 stars. It's fine. It just is like an extended episode of the TV show, and I haven't watched the TV show since I was a kid, and it turns out that I did a whole fucking dive into understanding the history of it, like how, oh yeah, they had 2 seasons, but because of the Flintstones being so popular, they cancelled the show. They did some like TV movies that crossed them over with the Flintstones and shit like that. Because then they had a renewal in like the 80s where they became really big again because of like it being rerun on TV. So they greenlit it for another 2 seasons, and then they did a crossover with the Flintstones, and then the show ended with this movie because 2 of the main cast members died whilst they were making the movie. Like Mel Blanc and the guy who voices George Jetson both died because they were old. Nothing more to it. Fucking old, and they died, and that's what happens. And so, yeah, the film is interesting. It has that 1990s aesthetic of CGI, which, for, like, animated films, that's, like, meant to make it seem more modern and sleek and whatever. And it's mostly for, like, ships and buildings out in space. The rest of it's casual 2D animation, which looks a lot better. And I'm like, I mean, it looks fine. It at least has its place. So, like, hey, the ships, when they're flying around, and also when it's in space, it's all CGI, like models and stuff. And it looks fine. It's not great, but it's very much of its time, very dated now, but it's not bad. It's all consistent. But the story itself is very meh. It's just George gets promotion to another planet where he has to operate a place that just keeps fucking up, and they're not investigating the problems till they keep firing all the people who work there. And all the people that works there is 1 human and 1 robot, so George becomes the 1 human who has to press 1 button, and then it turns out that, of course, they set up this whole facility that makes fucking cogs on a moon, asteroid thing that has life on it, and they decide, you know what? This life is so good, we're gonna let them live here for free. They can work in the factory. We're gonna recycle everything so we can keep making cogs, and we're not gonna pay them. So the movie's resolving argument is that recycling is good, but slavery is better. So it's like, what the fuck? And then George and his family just go back to Earth, and that's it. That's the end of the movie. They're done. No more Jetsons for like 30 years. Fucking crazy. I have the Blu-ray because Lee did the commentary, so I gotta watch that at some stage. But at least it's short. I'll give it that. I will pause here to mention how I have been watching Severance. I resubscribed to Apple TV and I watched season 2. Severance was fun. Visually creative, very technically creative. I really appreciate it for that because I'm still kind of torn on the season as a whole. The first season was phenomenal, and the fact that everyone was cramming about how it's been 3 years since season 1, I'm thinking, really? And then I realized I watched season 1 like 6 months after everyone else, or at least 6 months after it aired, and I binged it in like a couple of days, and I'm like, man, this show fucking slaps. I can't wait for the next season. It feels like it was only like a few months later they're like, oh, there's a writer's strike, but wasn't that 2023? Because, yeah, I must have watched it in 2022. Then there's Writer's Strike 2023, and then the show comes out 2020. Oh, fuck me, it's 2025. Yeah, because I watched the show in 2022. I don't remember 2023 at all in terms of this show. So then 2024 had the Writer's Strike, and they still hadn't made the second season. And then it comes out in 2025, and now they're like, oh, we've now greenlit it for season 3 because season 2 is finally finished. It's like, why wouldn't you just have already made season 3 by now? It's been so many years. What the fuck are you doing? If Silo can do a bracket with 2 like, I gotta watch season 2 of that still, but, you know, they film 2 seasons back to back, and then the next 2 seasons, if the first 2 are good, are gonna be back to back as well. If you can't manage that, what the fuck is... TV sucks. Anyway, Severance was fine. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars for the season. The first season is far superior to it. Also, a whole episode shorter. Feels a lot more tense, really well orchestrated in the first season. This season feels like it's a bit too loose. It wants to have a lot more fun ideas, but doesn't have enough time for it. Again, despite being 9 episodes, one whole episode is dedicated to Patricia Arquette, and it's like, what the fuck? How, in a show with 10 fucking episodes, they still waste a whole fucking episode? I know a lot of people were pissed about it, and I'm one of them, because I'm like, this sucks. Luckily, I didn't watch it weekly. I binged like the first 3 episodes, then a couple of days later I watched another 3 episodes, and then a couple of days later I had a whole weekend to think about it, watched 3 more episodes, and then lo and behold the finale came out and I watched that, and I'm like, the finale's pretty good. Like the first 6 episodes were good, then 7 and 8 were like okay, and then 7, 8 and 9 were okay. No, wasn't there 9 episodes? 10 episodes. 7, 8 and 9 were okay but not great, and then the last episode was at least better. Fuck, it's tricky watching shit like this. I don't know. I'm eager to see where they go next, but my god. Most of my review on Serialized was just, this is where they could have improved with where they can go in the next direction for season 3. Like, if I'm thinking about that rather than being overly critical of the season itself, I'm like, that's maybe a bad thing. Anyway, on the 14th, I had the pleasure of introducing Helene to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, the Indiana Jones movie. Mostly because I'd recently gotten the CDs and I was like loving the scores, despite the fact that the second half of each CD glitches for some reason on my phone. So I don't know what that deal is. I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, yeah, I showed her Raiders, the 4K, because of course I would. She'd never seen any Indiana Jones film before, but of course when they get to the action set pieces, she's like, this is familiar, because she spent 6 months in Disney World, so she's seen the fucking Indiana Jones show, and she's got a really good memory, so she just remembers all of it. So she's watching these sequences and being like, wow, this is exactly like the live show. And I'm like, cool. And she loved it. She loved the film. I'm like, that's great. I love it when that happens. It's funny because she was watching it and she's like, man, this film is so violent. And I'm like thinking, oh, she hasn't seen nothing yet. Because like the film hadn't even ended by that stage. And, you know, if you've seen Raiders, you know what happens. Like the big scene with the Lost Ark. Whoa, that's chaos. Anyway, on the 15th, outside of a huge day of, you know, the market, I watched Cobra at the Astor, which I gave 3 stars. Thought it was pretty fun. Very funny. It's okay. Like, it has some good action towards the end, especially. I'd argue it's probably quite forgettable, actually. I'm remembering very brief parts of it, but it does shoot LA in a really nice way, and Clem had a presentation beforehand, which was fucking phenomenal. So, good Cinemaniacs event. Not the best crowd. There were some people who were fucking dickheads. So we're probably not going to do action films anymore, because, if you're going to have knobs who are just coming there to watch a dumb movie and not actually realize that we're a film society where we talk about movies and we actually have a presentation beforehand and, pay respects to people, then they can go get fucked. So, yeah. But hey, sometimes you gotta, I don't know, break some eggs to make an omelette, I guess. And I'm, in my mind there being like, sometimes you gotta go through the shitty audience to realize how do we emphasize the better, more respectful audience. So I put forth some ideas and we're going to implement them. Because I'm a board member, I have to do that. I have to come up with ideas to make things better. And I'm like, yeah, we should, because we should, just in general. Anyway. On the 18th, which actually that made me start Star Trek, I'm watching the original series. I'm 4 episodes in. The first 3 were pretty good. The 4th episode, fucking banger. Holy shit. I think it's called The Naked Man or The Naked People or something. Fuck, what's it called? Episode 4, what are you called? The Naked Time, that's the one. It's interesting watching it. I've never seen the original series, so watching it actually properly is, like, insane, especially because the Blu-rays I have come with the original versions, not just the remasters, and the original versions are fucking great. I love the original versions of it. The remasters are fine, but I much prefer the original stuff. And yeah, this just, the 4th episode was, like, each episode was, like, not bad. They almost felt like trying to get the idea of what the show could be. Too many things about godly people and whatever, but then the 4th episode is like, what if, like, everyone had their nicknames? You get Bones, we finally properly name Uhura and Sulu, and, like, we'll call them by their names. Kirk is called Jim by Spock. They have a relationship because they're besties, and also it starts like The Thing, with a frozen planet of all these dead people, and then they get infected, and then, whoo, shit gets crazy, and they're on the ship, and, like, they get rocked back and forth. It's got all the great staples of the show. Kirk's fucking shirt gets ripped again, and that's just so he can get a fucking injection from Bones. He just rips his, like, sleeve off, and then taps him, and that's it. Fucking banger. Hell of an episode. And they also casually invent time travel. What a TV, my god, it used to be so good. On the 18th, I watched Hell Comes to Frogtown from the Arrow Blu-ray. I gave it 3 stars. It's fine. Yeah, I watched the Arrow Blu-ray. I remember when I was doing my research on it that, like, they were saying, like, the Vinegar Syndrome had a better scan and everything. I'm like, oh, do I want to spend $50 or do I want to spend, like, $15? Thank fuck I spent 15 because the film is not that great. Like, it's fine. I thought it was enjoyable. It's a campy as shit idea. The makeup and effects and the creature effects are great for the frogs, but it's very 80s cheese. What is it? 88? My god. Yeah, it's alright. It's perfectly fine. Like, Rowdy Roddy Piper, the same year as They Live, this fucking movie, which is insane. Boy should have had a bigger fucking filmography, but yeah, no, I thought it was fun. It's definitely one of those stream it first kind of movies, or watch it with a bunch of friends where you can all kind of be like, wow, the first, like, 30 minutes of this movie is just people trying to fuck Roddy, and then they're like, Rowdy Roddy Piper? Anyway, and then they're like, okay, now you also have to make sure that you can save all these women so you can have sex with them. What a movie. Save them from Frogtown so you can bone them. Oh, isn't the apocalypse great? Anyway, on the 19th, because it was my grandfather's birthday and because he passed away last year, I wanted to commemorate it and his memory, realistically, by watching his favourite movie, which was the first thing I did when I found out that he had cancer. I asked him what his favourite movie was, and it was Paint Your Wagon. Who'd have fucking guessed it? Turns out a lot of people, if you knew him well enough, you love this fucking movie. Even Nan was saying how, because I sent her a Snapchat about it. My Nan has Snapchat. Oh, who'd have thought it? My grandpa did as well. And even she was reminiscing on when they first saw it and how much they both loved it. And yeah, it's just one of those ones that I had actually seen a couple of years ago. I forgot that I saw it back in, like, 2019. Because I think Dad was playing the soundtrack non-fucking stop. And I'm like, I gotta watch this movie so I know what the hell they're singing about. And I watched it, I'm like, It's okay, I guess. I like the second. I think I liked the first half last time more than the second, but this time I like the second half more than the first. I watched the Kino 4K. It looks great. It sounds great. It's still fun. I gave it 3.5 stars. Like, it's not the best movie, but it's a fun film. You know, if you know what you're getting into and you can enjoy what it's talking about, how it's talking about it, it's pretty fun. And the whole final act is just one big Buster Keaton fucking sketch, and I'm like, that's great because this is fucking hilarious. So yeah, it's pretty good. On the 20th, because I have Amazon Prime right now, don't ask me why, I watched My Old Ass, ASS, that one. This one was really interesting. This one, I've been wanting to watch it, I'd say, for a while, but it only came out fucking last year, and it was like Prime exclusive, which fucking sucks. And I love Aubrey Plaza, so I was expecting her to be in more of the movie, and if you do expect her to be in more of the movie, don't. She's not. She's in the movie for 5 minutes, which sounds like a really short period of time, but she's in, after like maybe the first 10 minutes, she's in it because she's the older version of the main character, and she basically tells the main character some stuff about her future. Don't talk to this person, do this, do that, spend more time with your family, all this kind of shit. So then the character kind of starts to do that because it's like their last week and a bit before they go to, like, they leave home and go to fucking university in a different state, whatever. Which I think they go to Canada, but still. And yeah, so it becomes like that kind of a coming-of-age film where, like, your future self can tell you, hey, I want you to appreciate all this time you have with your family and everything because you'll never get this again. And within that period, she finds out that, like, they're going to sell the farm and she's going to miss out on all these things because she expected she'd come back to it. She falls in love with a guy, and this is a girl who was adamant about being a lesbian, falls in love with a guy, which is great because on Letterboxd they call that bi-erasure. They just call it, is it even bi-erasure? It kind of is. At least that's what fucking stupid people on Letterboxd claim it to be. Like, oh my god, she's a lesbian, now she's in love with a guy. This is just being cruel to lesbians. I'm like, do you guys know how fucking anything works? So, yeah, it's a queer film, again, because she's gay, but then she falls in love with a guy, and it's a completely different experience for her, which is realistic. I mean, the film even emphasizes that she's still bi because she's dating a girl in the future. So there's just a bunch of shit like that. Aubrey Plaza does come in a few times. You hear her voice because they do, like, they call each other at times and stuff like that. But it's just a really interesting, again, coming of age drama. It's not very long. It's only 89 minutes. I gave it 4 stars because it's also a film that really emphasizes, like, analyzing grief and from, like, a past and future perspective. Like, if you could talk to your past self, what would you say to them? Well, this movie is literally that. It's like, hey, you have these experiences that you could go through. I went through them and they were really painful, so I don't want you to go through them. But I'm not going to emphasize that to a degree because I kind of want to be vague about it. But also, if you do go through them, you will experience the same kind of pain. But then maybe the pain is an aftermath of a beautiful love that you get to experience. And you don't understand how much you enjoy that experience until it's gone. And that's where the pain comes from. It's a film about death. Isn't that great? Actually, it really helped for me because obviously I've been in that pickle for the past almost year now. So that was just really nice. It was comforting. So I have more appreciation for the film because of that. And I feel like the film, despite technically being targeted more towards people who are maybe in their late teens who can relate to the adventures of a 18-year-old girl, you know, with, like, her mannerisms, how she talks, the very 2020s lingo and stuff like that. At the same time, it's also very much a film for people in their, I was going to say middle age, but Aubrey Plaza's character is 39. I'm in between that. I'm in between 18 and 39. And she's, like, you know, you have that perspective thing of being an older person. So it can be a film for older people to reflect on their younger selves, you know, and people who are younger to try to learn that, hey, maybe we should try to appreciate more of what's happening immediately before it all goes away. So, yeah. Anyway, it's on Prime, worth checking out. Then on the 21st, I went to the cinema, yeah, those things still exist, and saw Black Bag, again with Guy, like a week after we saw Mickey 17, and Black Bag, fucking good. Soderbergh, Cope, doing a fucking movie, David Cope, that is, good espionage film, solid 90 minutes, just in and out, bam, done, fucking hilarious at times. Like, the espionage stuff gets so complicated that when it kind of starts to hit the fan, like the shit hits the fan, it becomes fucking hilarious. Like, very much intentionally so. Like, the way Fassbender behaves in some of the scenes, it is genuinely fucking funny. It's got a great cast. It's a really interesting, like, inside circle espionage drama where they're all colleagues who are spies, and they're all friends, and they're all in relationships, and it's like a rom-com. It's actually very much like a rom-com, realistically, but just an espionage film, because it still is an espionage film. That's like, if we don't get this thing, like, fucking a whole place is going to blow up. So it's really fun. Very well shot, very interesting. Got a weird glossy nature to it where a lot of the lighting is like, has this glare nature to it. I don't know what that's all about, but it was unique. Anyway, good score as well. On the 23rd, I rewatched Event Horizon. Because again, doing my PWSA, filmography, and I actually much preferred it this time around. I didn't like it the first time I watched it. I think I gave it 2 stars last time I watched it. This time I gave it 3.5. I enjoyed it a lot more. I'm happy with the Scream Factory Blu-ray, not the UHD disc that I used to have. I'm perfectly fine with it. Selling the 4K disc for $100, which is a collector's edition steelbook, and then paying $40 to get the Scream Factory edition was definitely worth it. And yeah, I just much appreciated the film a lot more this time, with a more level-headed of what to experience going into it. So, yeah, definitely interesting. But again, I'll do a PWS Anderson. Like, I always think Paul Thomas Anderson. Paul W.S.A. Anderson. My fucking God. The other one, I'm doing a video on that soon. And on that note, I also watched The Three Musketeers, which I gave 3 stars. Another Paul W.S. Anderson film, we'll get into that later. And Soldier, which I also gave 3 stars, which is another Paul W.S. Anderson film. W.S. Anderson. I keep saying W.S.S. Anderson. Notable thing about The Three Musketeers is that I loved it as a kid because it was a mixture of Pirates of the Caribbean meets steampunk, and I really liked that. Do I like it as much now? I think it's fine. I think it's a very easy movie for you to watch if you want to just watch a generic blockbuster that happens to be done by Paul W.S.A. Anderson, whatever the fuck. I keep saying it. I know I do. And also Mila Jovovich is hot as shit, so I'm like, I'll give it that. He has good an eye for looking at his wife in a very, very lens particular. Anyway, again, Soldier noteworthy because it was released on my birthday. My actual birthday. If you look at IMDb, it says the 23rd of October 1998. I was born the 24th of October, but I was born the 24th in Australia, which is the 23rd in America. The 23rd is like Sam Raimi's birthday, so sometimes I say like, oh, me and Sam Raimi have the same birthday. Same birthday in like period of hours, but not same birthday because he was the 23rd, I'm the 24th. It's annoying when I see people say, happy birthday to this actor or director, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had the same birthday as them, only to realize it's the past in America. I keep forgetting that, because time works differently there. Anyway, it's not great. So this was technically released. It's exactly the same age as me. It's fucking crazy. Of course, it's Australian premiered. It was like November, but still, like late November. And then I watched Death Race 2000 from 1975. That's a mouthful. Gave it 3.5 stars. Fun, campy as fuck. Pretty good Roger Corman produced film. I don't know, it has some fun moments. I didn't realize that the movie was about them driving from one part of America to another part, but they also have to kill as many people in between there just by driving. And I'm like, that's fucking mental. What a great idea. You get 70s level blood and gore, which is wonderful. Bunch of like naked people because it's the 70s. I love it. It's like the future. Everyone has spas together, men and women. Also, Stallone's here, and he gets in a fist fight with fucking David Carradine, and he loses. I'm like, what the fuck is this movie? And Carradine's wearing a fucking gimp suit with a cape and a mask that he can peel off to reveal his actual face, and he'll just drive with the actual face. I'm like, can't cameras see him? And then you watch it and you're like, there are no cameras. How do people know what the fuck is happening? How does anyone know what's happening? But then you got the real Don Steele, who's the fucking narrator, which is great because his voice is fucking wonderful. Because he's the same guy on the soundtrack of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's fucking fun. There are literal Nazis in it, which is crazy. And I'm like, wow, the film's just starting with that out the gate. And then it's like, yeah, because there's a Nazi team and they fucking die. And it's like, holy shit, yes. If I'm not wrong, are they the Wile E. Coyote ones? There's one group of people, there's like 5 of them, who come out of a tunnel and they see a sign that says detour in the middle of the road. A very obvious, this looks fake. And they're like, great, I could use a detour. And they take a sharp right through what looks like a tunnel, only for it to be a big cardboard cutout, Wile E. Coyote style, and fly off a fucking cliff. Cinema. Fucking beautiful. Love it. Anyway, and then I watched the making of Event Horizon from 2006, which is part of the Blu-ray for that Event Horizon. It's on the standard Blu-ray as well. It is long and boring. I mean, it's fine if you've never seen a fucking interview, but the Scream Factory edition has so many fucking interviews that I'm like learned most of the best information from those interviews than I did on the actual documentary. The documentary is boringly short. It's just one camera angle like this the whole fucking time. They occasionally cut the footage. They occasionally cut to whatever remaining B-roll that they had that they don't have very much of, obviously. There's not a single featurette that really dives into just how much extra stuff was on the cutting room floor. And then when they do talk about that stuff in the documentary and a couple of interviews, you realize, oh, so we just missed an orgy and a bunch of gore. Which is a gore I would be okay with, but the other stuff, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I should like read the original script because I feel like that I'd get a lot more out of that, you know? The kind of thing where if you read Dune and then watched the David Lynch version, you'd get more of an appreciation for David Lynch's version because you'd have read the book. Or if you just watched the Spice Diver cut. So, yeah. What else did I watch this month? Holy shit. Oh, okay. Wednesday the 26th. So that's the last one I did. So that means I have watched Death Race. Wow, I did a double feature. The next 4 are actually P.W.S. Anderson films, all of which I will be doing a whole big deep dive into, which I already mentioned earlier in the video. So we did Death Race from 2008. I gave it 3 stars. Enjoyable, very schlocky, action car movie from the mid to late 2000s. So it has that very distinct grey color palette visual style, but it also has the bald guy, what's his name? Holy shit, Jason Statham. So it's a Jason Statham action movie. It's alright, I enjoyed it. It's a fun time. Sure, why not? Watch the extended cut. Can't go wrong, I guess. However, I did watch Mortal Kombat. Fuck. I rewatched this one, gave it 2 stars. Fucking don't like this movie at all. I admire the production design. I think some of the casting is quite fun. Some of it's fun in a goofy way. Some of it's fun in a, hey, yeah, that's sure, that works. There are some great one-liners because, of course, they're all taken from the video game. The Scorpion fight scene is insane. Sub-Zero dies way too easily. And the CGI looks like fucking trash. And also the story is just not that interesting. The fight scenes are pretty meh. But I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack fucking slaps. It's one of the best theme songs for a movie ever made. So I can give it that, and that gives it some rewatchability. But after the first 20 minutes of it being like, wow, what an interesting setup for a movie, and some nice visuals and some nice production design, it then just takes such a nosedive. I just basically tune out. So, of course, I didn't because I had to focus. I had to be like attentive and watch this because I'm doing a review. It's professional. But I don't like this movie. Anyway, then I watched Shopping on the 27th. I actually split this in half. I watched the first, it's like an hour and 45 minute long film. It's P.W.S. Anderson's first film. Found it on YouTube in 360p. Gave it 3.5 stars. First film of Jude Law from 1994. Wasn't meant to rhyme. I thought it was 1993. Anyway, yeah, I had to watch it in 360p on YouTube. Wasn't that great? It's okay. I enjoyed it. It's definitely his most normal film. It's just a youth crime film, but with 20-year-olds. Jude Law as a 20-year-old doesn't comprehend in my brain. He shouldn't be 20. 30 minimum. Doesn't make any sense to me. So, that's fun. Yeah, but I watched the first hour and a bit of this, and then had to go to the cinema to watch In the Lost Lands from 2025. One of the few 2025 movies that I've actually... One of the few 2025 movies I've actually watched. And that was okay. I gave it 2.5 stars, but I gave it a like. It's bad in a good way and good in a bad way. A lot of mixtures. P.W. Anderson film, of course, his latest. It will be at the end of my review talking about all of his films, so stay tuned for that in like 2 weeks' time or something. Good God. Yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. I mean, people will say it's bad because it's P.W. Anderson, so you know, you get what you give, and if you like his style and his type of filmmaking, then sure. If you don't, then you don't. You know, that's kind of how you got to roll with it sometimes. But I thought it was fun. I got to watch it in the cinema by myself. Not initially. There was another guy there for the first half an hour, and this is an almost 2 hour long movie, and he left. Got up and left, didn't come back, and I'm like, I guess this wasn't his, didn't tickle his fancy, so he left, and I had the cinema to myself, which was great. I could start Snapchatting my friend. I had no signal, so I just kept Snapchatting him videos of what was happening, just to show him just what the fuck he was missing. And it was a $10 ticket, so I'm fine with it. There's no one else there, so no one was annoyed by that, and I was totally okay with it. So, yeah, that's cinema, baby. And then today, which correlates with my t-shirt, did you notice? I'm wearing a Return of the Living Dead t-shirt. Love it. 10 out of 10. Me and Phil and Caitlin went to the Monster Fest at the Cinema Nova in Carlton. And this was their opening night, I think. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, they showed Return of the Living Dead Part 2. That wasn't, if I hadn't said that yet. Part 2. We hadn't seen Part 2. And it was great. Joel from Dead and DVD was there, because him and his dad are producing it with a bunch of other people. The Monster Fest people were there, because obviously it's a fucking Monster Fest, so I saw Jarrett Garn. And there's a couple other people there who I don't know, but Caitlin knows, because they're all Monster Fest people, and she used to work there. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Hyundai showed up, which was great. Always good to see my friends. There's a bunch of people there who I knew. There's a bunch of people there who I didn't know. I bought some Blu-rays, so yeah, of course. It was like, they had a bunch of $2 Blu-rays. It was great. But the movie itself, because we're here for the movie, movie was fun. I gave it 3 stars. It was a really nice restoration of the film, which is cool. I don't even know if it was like a new Scream Factory 4K Blu-ray or something. Sorry, the dogs have been disruptive. There's no one home right now. It's almost midnight, and they're just barking at nothing. That's how you know it's a great night. Anyway, movie was fun. I enjoyed it. Again, the 3 stars, because it's amusing. It's nowhere near as good as the original, so I don't want to put it on that pedestal. I knew going into it that 2 of the characters returned, and they basically played the exact same role, and I think that that's quite funny, because at one stage, one of them verbalizes, "This all seems so familiar, like we dreamt of this before, with us and them." It's great. It's not as flavorful. It feels more kid-friendly, Spielberg-esque. It has that, development suburb area that they're all like growing up in. Because there's a kid who's the main character. It's the same kind of plot as the first one to a degree. People stumble on one of those big vats of a dead zombie. They activate it. It floods. Gases everywhere, which of course it's right next to a cemetery, so all the zombies come out of the grave, which is not a bad effect for the zombies. It's not as practical animatronics like the original. It's more of people in masks, which I'm okay with. It's a good difference, at least. It's not going for uber 80s punk. It's just going for child-friendly fun stuff. So, it's very different to the original, which I'm okay with, but it still has a fun score to it. It still has fun visuals. I think because it has familiar faces, that makes it enjoyable as well. But even the new faces are good. Dana Ashbrook from Twin Peaks is there, which is great. This is pre-Twin Peaks fame, because this is 1988. And yeah, it has its moments. It gets into the zombie stuff a lot quicker, which I like. It doesn't dilly-dally and whatever. Like the original one takes its time to get to the zombie stuff. But the zombie stuff is great and it's iconic. Whereas this one, I wouldn't say, it's definitely fun. I wouldn't say it's amazing stuff, but nor would I say it's iconic. There's no particular scene that really stands out, except for one, which I really liked. There's a scene where, because they once they get away from the housing development, they get into the town, and the town is empty because there's basically, overrun with zombies, and so all the people have left, which seems very weird, but also one of those, wow, what a fun way to not have a budget. Love it. 10 out of 10. And they do have a fun sequence where after the characters they've escaped from a hospital, and they're driving down the road, and they drive past a pet store, and you just got all these animals getting eaten by zombies, and you probably think, oh, that's really grotesque, that's fucked up, but it's like, yes, but imagine these animals are soft toys, because that's what they are, and it's very obvious, because again, it's basically a kids movie. It still has violence, there's no nudity, there's still violence, there's still gore, people's brains get eaten, but it's not explicit, you know, there's enough blood, there's enough zombies eating fake sausages, whatever the fuck. It's funny. It's a very funny film. With an audience, it was really nice. That was great because you just it made the laughs more entertaining. I think by yourself, unless you're really on board with the film, it might not be as amusing. But that scene in particular fucking made me laugh so much because I'm just like, that looks so fucking stupid and I love it. And even there is a real dog at one stage, it just runs away and a zombie chases it. The main characters run down the zombie and that becomes a really important plot beat. And it's like, wow, who'd have thought it? But there is a character who owns a really fast car who happens to be, well, not a fast car, like an old car, like Christine, that car. And he is a doctor, and he has just all these great quips and one-liners, and I'm like, I like this guy, he's really funny. The rest of the characters, they can die. This guy I like. But yeah, so it was fun. It was a good night overall, you know. They did actually double feature it with Phantasm 2, but given Phil and Katie weren't my ride, I had to go with them, which I was fine with because I've got work tomorrow morning anyway, and it's late. So yeah, as an overall, really fun. Would love to go to Monster Fest again. I don't like going to Monster Fest. It's always good to go to Monster Fest because they sometimes screen brand new movies, sometimes they don't. This weekend was it was Monster Fest Weekend 3, but it's called The Sequels. So it's a strange name because again, it's their third Weekender Fest, but they're all sequels. So it's like Phantasm 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Candyman 2, the Wiz, no, not the Wiz, is it just called Oz? I can't remember what it's called, but it's the sequel to Wizard of Oz, but the weird, like, one that traumatized a generation of children, apparently. I saw it on Disney Plus a couple months ago, so I'm not huge to rewatch it, but in cinema it could be great, but still, all those kind of sequels, you know, again, Return of the Living Dead 2, Phantasm 2, Bride of Reanimator as well, which would be really fun to watch in the cinema, but I'm busy this weekend, so yeah. Then we cut to the 29th, where I did a double feature of Spirits of the Air, Gremlins of the Clouds, and Dark City, both of which were directed by Alex Proyas, who I actually did I was going to say I did an interview of, that would have been fantastic. No, I could have asked him, but that would have been weird. He was at Supernova on the weekend, and I got a Blu-ray signed. It was actually this one, the Spirits of the Sky one. I got him to sign the artwork for it, which is really nice. So we talked for a couple of minutes, which is nice. It was good. It was nice. It was one of those nicely informative conversations where, like, we talked about, like, his career of where it started and where it's at now, and how he prefers doing his own solo independent stuff compared to, like, the big budget stuff. I don't know if he was happy with the fact that I wasn't overtly joyed that he had made Gods of Egypt or I, Robot, but at the same time, he has his own appreciation for those films, and also he knows that people do still like them, and I actually pointed out that I had a friend who loved Gods of Egypt, so yeah, that was weird, but it was nice. I think I overstayed my welcome, realistically, even though I did pay $50 to get an autograph, and I didn't realise there was a person behind me. That was like the big kicker of, oh, there's someone behind you, let's move this on. So anyway, the films, Spirits of the Air, really, really interesting, beautifully shot film for such a low budget, you know, outback Australian film. I, even in my review on Letterboxd, said that the American dream is to go to Hollywood and be a star. The Australian dream is to go to the outback and make a cult classic. And this is in that vein. It's a post-apocalyptic film. It's got three very kooky performances, a very rich production design, a beautiful use of miniatures that makes you think that things are bigger than they actually are. I love it. It's a beautiful film, a really interesting score. Yeah, definitely worth checking out if you haven't. That was the Umbrella release from Beyond Genres. They probably still have that release available, but it might be on Broly as well, you know, the streaming service. Anyway, then there's, Dark City. Yeah, I rewatched that as well because I wanted to watch it so I could have a better cemented idea of what if I wanted to talk to him about it, which I did. I mentioned that I rewatched them last night and that I really still quite enjoyed them. It's been like 6 or 7 years since I watched them both. Like, I hadn't watched Dark City since, I think, first year of high school, which was like, sorry, first year of uni, which was like 2017, because Guy told me to get the Blu-ray, which had the director's cut. It had both cuts. Of course, I watched the director's cut. Rewatched the director's cut this time, actually. Whereas Spirits of the Year, I'd seen it back in 2018, maybe 2019, because I'd logged it on Letterboxd, so I probably watched them both in 2018, 2019 period. I can't remember. I've always, the same thing. It's been a good handful of years. But it was really nice to rewatch Dark City. I'm very excited to see what the new 4K from Arrow looks like. I did actually talk to him about that. But I've got a whole Supernova video, so I'll leave all that stuff to that video. And yeah, it was good. The sound design is fucking amazing. The score is beautiful. Visually, it is really nice. Even with its usage of CGI, none of it feels dated. It feels very specific, but a great usage of it. Yeah, it's a really great, interesting film that is good to go in blind, but it is a great kind of Matrix meets Blade Runner film, you know, like got the real hardcore noir stuff, but then you've also got the really weird mind-bending shit like the Matrix, and it came out before the Matrix, which is insane. So yeah, anyway, what did I finish the month off with? Because I went to Supernova on Sunday and I didn't watch Star Trek, so what did I watch on the Monday, which is today? What did I watch? Oh my god. Hello, it is me at my computer desk filming, editing the end of the video that you're currently watching right now. Hi. Sorry, I am currently under the weather, really bad sore throat, so I'm going to try to refuse to speak a lot. The last 2 films I watched were Resident Evil and Resident Evil Apocalypse. I gave Resident Evil 3 stars, and Apocalypse 1.5, which it was a rewatch that I had seen exactly 4 years prior, even though I've watched it in between then anyway. They will be my Anderson review. I still gotta watch. I still gotta watch like 2 more of those fucking movies. 3, oh my god, Afterlife, as well as I watched Retribution and Final Chapter. I've still got those 3 to watch. I did the other one, Extinction, today, so that's the 1st of April, so I'll do that video soon when I'm well enough to film that last clip of just the Resident Evil films, because I've filmed everything else. So yeah, that's all. Thanks. Have fun. I'm gonna go finish editing this video now and then sleep because I'm tired. Sorry, the audio sucks. I don't have a microphone. I'm using the camera mic. Bye. See you kids next month. Whoop-de-woo.